Hello, my name is Aiden and I watch anime, and today I'm going to be talking about the most hated arc in all of One Piece, Fishman Island. Is it underrated? Is it overhated? Is it both? Today I'm going to be answering all of those questions and more. And if you want me to watch One Piece, leave a like and subscribe. If you subscribe and leave a comment, I'll add your name to a Google Sheet and watch an episode and write a summary about it specifically for you. So, if that's something you're interested in, subscribe and leave a comment, and I'll do that for you. Now, without further ado, let's get into my explanation of the arc. Of course, we can't talk about Fishman Island without addressing the elephant in the room. And no, I'm not talking about Kalina. I'm talking about Sanji. The degradation of his character in this arc is inexcusable. And it is very, very sad to see how one of my favorite characters in the series has been turned into a gooner. And he can't see a girl without getting nosebleeds and almost dying because of it. And I understand why to an extent, but that extent is probably the maximum extent I'm willing to give Sanji and Oda, because this is bad. It's really bad, and I really hate to see it, because almost every single scene he's in, he's like being not that much of a good person. And I have gotten around 15 episodes into Town Castle, and he has gotten better about it, but it is still very sad to see, and I really hope he gets back to his pre-time skip, which is still a little bit of an inexcusable human being, but it's much less of an inexcusable human being than he is now, if that makes any sense. A much more positive thing I wanted to talk about is how fun the reuniting of the Straw Hats was. These guys were apart for 2 years, which is way more than even Zoro and Luffy were together, and their dynamics coming back as fast as they came back just was a testament to how strong their bond is in the short amount of time they had together. And their bond is one of the things I really miss seeing in the past 2 arcs, as perfect as they were. Impel Down and Marineford really lacked the dynamic that the Straw Hats brought to One Piece, and one of the drawing factors for me watching One Piece is the Straw Hats dynamic, if that makes any sense. So seeing them come back together was really amazing for me, because the Straw Hats are just an amazing team, and their dynamic is just so good. I say the same words over and over again, but I just really want to bring in how much I love their dynamic. It's so much fun. Another negative about this arc is the 2 villains. Vanderdecken and Hody Jones are absolutely not strong in the slightest when compared to the villains of Marineford and Impel Down. These 2 villains are insanely weak, and I understand why they're insanely weak. It's to showcase the strength of the Straw Hats pirates after time skip, but it's very underwhelming, to say the least, when you have the big bads that were Marineford and Impel Down, like Magellan and Akainu and Kizaru and Aokiji, and then you just have Hody Jones, which is a fishman who lost to a fruit user, basically underwater the entire time. And the villains just being so weak, despite the complexity they have, is just very sad. It's very sad. And I say complexity, but the only villain that was complex this arc is Hody Jones. And he wasn't even that complex. He was just a bad guy because a human killed Fisher Tiger. And so he had complexity in a very vague sense of the term, but he was not a good villain whatsoever, and Vanderdecken was even worse. So the villains this arc were terrible, but there were some things about that kind of relate to them that were great, and I'm going to talk about that next. Okay, so I said villains plural, but I really meant it in a singular way, because while Vanderdecken has absolutely 0 redeeming qualities about him, Hody Jones has a few, and they all come from his backstory, where his leader or captain, Fisher Tiger, got killed by humans for saving a human, and so he came to hate all humans, even those that were trying to help fishermen, by congregating with humans and becoming part of their society. And so he killed multiple fishermen because of their beliefs, and he made his society worse because of it, and more divided because of it, while his goal was trying to unite the fishermen in hatred of humans. And so while his character is somewhat complex, I use somewhat in a very light tone, he was very weak, and that really does not help his case whatsoever. Alright, the thing that I probably like most about this entire arc is the symbolism and the parallels, which is probably the same for almost any One Piece arc. You have the Sun Pirates and Fisher Tiger trying to fight things more physically freeing captives and slaves from the Marines and Celestial Dragon's grasp. And then you have Odahime and the Royals trying to fight things more diplomatically, with agreements with the Celestial Dragons and petitions signed by the people of Fishman Island. And then you see these ideas start to clash, even though ultimately they're both trying to achieve the same goal. They don't have the same means, so they're not going to achieve their goal in the end unless the people of Fishman Island are unified in one place or one way of achieving that goal, if that makes sense. And you kind of see this idea come into fruition when Luffy is fighting Hody Jones and his pirates. He gets unification with the fishermen people when they say they want the island destroyed. You see all these people congregate together and cheer on Luffy, even though Luffy was the one who was prophesied to destroy the island. They wanted the island destroyed. They didn't want to be ruled by Hody Jones and his flawed idea of equality. And I really, really enjoyed that and resonate with that for some reason. So back to the point that I originally made at the start of the video. Do I think this arc is overhated or underrated? I definitely think that it's both. I know that the original has pacing problems, and the re-edit definitely does too, but they're completely different. The re-edit was way too fast and glossed over so many things that I would like to see it go into more depth about. And I know Fishman Island has its own pacing issues, I've heard a lot about it, but I definitely want to go back and watch the original version in the future after I'm done with my first watch through. And so I definitely do think it's overhated. Do I think it's underrated though? That's kind of basically the same question. I have it around middle of the pack in terms of One Piece arcs, so around B tier in terms of One Piece arcs, which is like A tier compared to regular anime arcs, and I think it's good. I really think it's good, and I think it's overhated, especially when it comes to things that are definitely in the base version of Fishman Island. I think it does a lot of things right, and it also does a lot of things wrong, but that doesn't make it bad. And so that's my answer to the question. If you have anything you'd like to add, again, say it in the comments. And I'm looking forward to reading your comments about this because I know there's probably going to be a lot. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed. If you made it to the end of the video, you're a goat. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Peace out.